Incredible Northeast India Tourism, a vehicle for women empowerment, powered by Transport Department, Government of Assam, co-powered by Ensure, Complete Balanced Nutrition for Adult, co-powered by Dr. Ortho Ayurvedic Tel Aru Capsule, Gachir Bikhor Babe Ononyo Oushod, education partner, the Downtown School, in association with Awesome Assam, print partner, the Assam Tribune.
Swagatam Hudibrindo. A very good morning to you all. Slowly people are trickling in and we'll have more people as the day goes by. I'm Gayatri Sharma, your host for the day, and it's my extreme pleasure to welcome you to participate in Incredible Northeast India Tourism, a vehicle for women empowerment. Ajire Onusthanor Bikhoytue Mur Monoloy Anise, Bhupen Hajorika Debor eti git. Moi eti jajabor, Thorar dihinge dipange loruni bisari nija ghor. Moi eti jajabor, ami ek jajabor. Amar oti moromor, huda kontho, Bhupen Hajorika Debe. তেখেতৰ কালজয়ী গীত মই এটি যাযাবৰ এই গানটোৰ জৰিয়তে ভ্ৰমণকাৰীৰ জীৱন দৰ্শন আৰু ভ্ৰমণৰ সৌন্দৰ্য তাৎপৰ্যৰ কথা কৈ গৈছিল. The bard Bhupen Hajorika, through this song, had talked about the wanderer, the traveler in you, how each place when you visit gets close to your heart, their culture, traditions, and lifestyle. Hoy, ভ্ৰমণে পৃথিৱীৰ দূৰ দূৰণিৰ লোকসকলক ওচৰলৈ লৈ আনে, লগতে লৈ আহে তেওঁলোকৰ বাৰে বৰণীয়া ৰীতি নীতি সংস্কৃতি আৰু পৰম্পৰা, গোটেই পৃথিৱীখন হৈ পৰে আপোন. And when you think of the tourist and tourism, you cannot undermine the role and significance of Northeast India. Northeast, a paradise for tourists. Its enchanting hills, dancing rivers, roaring waterfalls, thick and dark forests, heavy rains during monsoon, innumerable varieties of flora and fauna, and countless species of wild animals, melodious folk, music, dances and festival, delicious food, and of course, the handloom and handicraft. All these and more have attracted innumerable tourists to this region. So whether you're a backpacker or a comfort-seeking man who would like to travel with family, Northeast is a place which has all kinds of tourism suiting your budget and inclination. And this is exactly why we are here today, to explore, to brainstorm, and to share experiences and ideas. We have some very interesting sessions lined up with some very interesting people today. Aru aji ami bahut kotha hikibole pam, bahut kotha janibole pam. Kunbai jodi tourismok loi kiba startup idea bhabi ase ki kora jay ba idea ase aru bastobot rupaito koriboloi pot dekhuabo pora jogyo byakti aji amar majot ase. So I'm very sure we will have, through these discussions, interviews, a very enriching experience. Aru aji ei bishesh onusthan ami mukoli koribole goi asu bonti projolonor hoite. Ami oti anondito je aji amar majot uposthit ase jeshto sangbadik Padmashri Patricia Mukhim. Ami tekhetok bonti projolon koribole onurod jonaisu. May I now invite Padmashri Patricia Mukhim, Shillong Times, who is here with us today to light the lamp. I also invite Sadhna Deori, IAS Secretary Tourism Arunachal Pradesh, to join in the lighting of the lamp. Logote moi Srimoti Dipanita Jaiswal, Chairperson IWN Assam Chapter, our co-chairperson IWN Dr. Sriporna Boruag, Bonti Projolonot Onkhogrohon Koriboloi Onurod Jonaisu. Thank you so much. On that auspicious note, we are ready to start the day. And now I invite Dipanita Jaiswal, Chairperson IWN Assam Chapter, to deliver her welcome and theme address.
Namaskar. A very good morning to all the government representatives from Northeast states, session panelists, participants, industry colleagues, friends and members of IWN Assam Chapter, friends from media, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of CII, Indian Women Network Assam Chapter, and on behalf of DY365, I'm truly honored to welcome you all to the first Women Tourism Conclave, Incredible Northeast India, Tourism, a Vehicle for Women Empowerment. Ibn Battuta has rightly said, and I quote, "Traveling, it leaves you speechless, then turns you into a storyteller." The Indian tourism industry, which is dependent on travel, trade, and hospitality, has been a significant contributor to India's GDP. The sudden onset of coronavirus pandemic caught the world off guard, and the impact of the pandemic was felt across the globe and national economy. However, now as countries are moving towards easing pandemic restrictions and getting economy back on track with recovery measures and stimulus packages, the tourism sector is also gradually bouncing back. What can I say about the Northeast region? We love this region, isn't it? We all love it. This region is so beautiful, with its scenic natural beauty, rich biodiversity, rare wildlife, historical site, distinct cultural and ethnic heritage, has the greatest potential for generating income and employment opportunity in the tourism sector. It is estimated that women constitute a major portion of the tourism workforce. This creates an opportunity for the Northeast to make tourism a significant vehicle for empowerment of women. The main objective of the conclave is to provide a platform to the service users, providers, and policymakers to deliberate and brainstorm on ways of creating greater participation of women in travel, tourism, hospitality sector, and ideate on means of creating a gender-inclusive ecosystem, thus gearing up the region for the overall development of the tourism sector. The conclave is the joint effort of Women Wing of CII, Indian Women Network, Assam Chapter, and DY365. I would like to conclude my address by two quotes. "The sky above, the earth below, peace within." Once a year, go somewhere you've never been before, as said by His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. I once again welcome you all and hope you have an eventful day. Namaskar, have a nice day.
Thank you, Ms. Dipanita. Like you rightly said, tourism is emerging as one of the major sectors for growth in Indian economy. Various studies have in fact shown that tourism generates the highest employment per unit of investment for the skilled, semi-skilled, and the unskilled. And it's an accepted fact that India has tremendous potentials for development of tourism. And on that, Northeast is becoming a key player in the tourism industry. Also with, like you rightly said, increased connectivity and restrictions relaxed post-pandemic. Moving on then to our first session of the day, the future of tourism in Northeast India, growing opportunities in Northeast. I would request Ms. Ankita Saikia to moderate this session. May we have you on the dais, Ms. Ankita? Our moderator, Ankita Saikia, is an entrepreneur for the past 19 years and has built well-known brands in education, exhibition, and studies abroad consultation. Her current interest and energies are spent in building Right Hemisphere, a software development firm she co-founded in 2017. A nature lover and an avid trekker, she has been trekking the Himalayas for the past 27 years. Her motto is enjoy nature, but don't leave any trash behind. Can't agree more on that. And now an introduction of our esteemed panelist. Our first guest needs little introduction. In the panel, we have Patricia Mukim, who is current editor, the Shillong Times, one of the oldest English language dailies of the Northeast. She has been on the National Security Advisory Board, Government of India, and engaged extensively on issues beyond military security. Ms. Mukim has been a gender activist and authored a book, Waiting for an Equal World, which looks at gender concern in India's Northeast. She regularly writes on issues related to the region for the national media. Ms. Mukim is a recipient of several journalistic awards, including the Padma Shri. It is an honor to have you, Patricia Mukim, in the panel today. Welcome. Our next panelist is Janavi Fukon, Director of Jungle Travels Private Limited. She's an entrepreneur of over 3 decades from Assam, India. Her companies are encompassed in travel and hospitality, tea and textiles, all of which empower young people's livelihoods, especially women and their communities. She's the co-founder with her husband Ashish Fukon of 2 National Tourism Award-winning companies, Jungle Travels India and Assam Bengal Navigation Company under JTI Group, both of which are recipients of India's National Tourism Awards. She is currently the regional convener for the Responsible Tourism Society of India for India's Northeast region in 2021. She is a national advisor Northeast for the Delphic Council of India under the aegis of International Delphic Council, Berlin. And Ms. Fukon has been a member of the National Board of Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship, IIE, as well as co-chairperson of CII, Confederation of Indian Industry, as we know. And she was the founder chairperson for IWN, India Women Network. And she has done a post-graduation from Indian Institute of Mass Communication, IIMC, and an alumna of Indiana University, USA. Please welcome Ms. Janavi Fukon. Yes. Our next panelist, Elena Satpati, has a master's degree in tourism administration from Utkal University, Bhubaneswar, and is pursuing her PhD from there. She is currently the co-founder of Seven Sisters Holidays, Manipur. She has over 25 years of industry experience with organizations like Vasco Travels, Mercury Himalayan Explorations. She's a pioneer in domestic tourism in Manipur and also an expert in cross-border terrorism. Sorry, because I was an ex-journalist, so I tend to think about, and in cross-border tourism. She has represented the state in various platforms and visited several countries for the promotion of tourism. She has been instrumental in conceptualizing the erstwhile Manipur Tourism Festival, and which is presently known as Manipur Sangai Festival. Elena has served as a guest faculty at Indian Institute of Travel and Tourism Management, Bhubaneswar, IGNOU, Imphal, Vellore Institute of Technology, and University of Pondicherry. She is an approved inbound tour operator in the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. Welcome, ma'am. Our next panelist, Oken Tayang, of Abor Country Travels and Expeditions, ACTE. Founded in 2002, Abor Country River Camp was listed as one of the top 6 places to stay in Northeast India by Lonely Planet magazine. His Abor Eco Lodge has been visited by prominent guests from like film stars Amir Khan, author Arundhati Roy, industrialist Nirja Billa, and others. Oken Tayang is a silver winner in the Pathfinders category at the Indian Responsible Tourism Awards 2022. He is the founder of Siang Rush, an annual tourism promotion event recently listed as one of the 40 bespoke experiences made in India by Travel and Leisure magazine. He was awarded Best Tour Operator in Arunachal Tourism Award 2017 and was also awarded Highest Revenue Earner in Arunachal Tourism Award 2013. He was an Assistant Director and Production Consultant in a national award-winning documentary In the Forest Hangs a Bridge. He conducts cultural, educational, and adventure trips all across Northeast. ACTE has generated employment and provided guidance to the youth of the region. Welcome, sir, to the panel today. Well, so that's and we also have our next panelist, Arijit Purkaisto, CEO of Koeli Tours and Travels. Arijit Purkaisto is a compulsive traveler, as he calls himself, and runs a travel business that promises tourists soulful experiences in the unexplored and, of course, incredibly beautiful Northeast India. Mr. Arijit Purkaisto, director of Koeli Tours and Travels, have been in the tourism industry for nearly 30 years. In addition to operating tours focusing on wildlife and birding and exploring lesser-known destinations, culture, tribes, art, and crafts of the northeastern states, Mr. Purkaisto has a special interest in designing customized itineraries for accessible tourism. Mr. Arijit Purkaisto writes extensively on destination specialities, travelogues, and other tourism issues for newspapers and web magazines. Welcome, sir, on board. And last but not the least, Etia moi monsole matibo khojisu amar Dibrugarh Sinaki Bikhat Jalan Porialor Manoj Jalan. He is Director Purvi Discovery Private Limited. He is a 4th generation tea planter. Purvi Discovery is the first company to initiate tea tourism in Assam. Mr. Jalan is interested in equestrian sports and the founder member Equestrian Federation of Assam. He has remained Vice President of Equestrian Federation of India for 12 years. He has also been associated with Dibrugarh University as board member of Center of Management Studies. Yes, we now have a complete panel, and over to you, Ankita.
Thanks, Gayatri. First of all, I'd like to welcome all our delegates to the session. I understand a lot of our delegates are from the tourism industry, and we hope to have a good discussion so that we can take in some questions at the end. I would also like to thank all our panelists for taking the time out and joining us in the session today. I want to, our panelists is a much exalted panel today, much awarded, and between them they have an experience of over 30 years in the travel and tourism industry. I would like to keep it on a more casual discussion format and throw a topic out. I want everybody's opinions to be added to the topic, and I don't want to interrupt the flow, so please feel free to pick up the mic and talk. There has been a great interest in traveling to Northeast these days, and a lot of these interests is generated by easy connectivity, online destination information, travelogues, use of photo sharing apps. In this time, how do you see Northeast tourism as positioning itself? Do we need a reboot, or should we continue in the same path? Your opinions, somebody can start. Mr. Purkaisto.
Thank you. As we all know that tourism in Northeast is on the uptrend. Yes, we not necessarily have to reboot, but we have to do a little bit of changes in our itineraries. Like itinerary, of course, will remain the same. Destinations will remain the same. But in between, we have to work out like the stopovers while we're traveling, because, well, any tourist coming to our region, they are traveling to 6 to 7 hours. Compared to other places, they travel for 3 hours or so, except for Shillong, of course, but when you go to Arunachal and other places. So the other day we were discussing with my friend Ranjit Das, is there, with Manoj Jalan, that why not start, like for example, we have the National Highway 37, it starts from Goalpara to Upper Assam. Now in between there will be many stoppages, there are many off-roads, which we have not projected in our itinerary so far. So there are potteries, there are weavings, there are so many things are there. So why not include this, make it an interesting stopover, and not only driving to the destination. For example, if you're driving to say Tawang, so instead of just driving to Tawang, why not we stop at say Tejpur and ask the tourists to board in a train from Dekargaon to Bhalukpung, and simultaneously the vehicle will follow you, and the train will go through tea gardens, will go through tribal villages, and make it interesting, and people can take photographs of those. So this is what we have to do, a fine-tuning along with all our stakeholders. This is my own suggestion. Thank you very much.
Anybody else would like to add? Ms. Mukim?
I wouldn't like to digress from the topic of today's panel discussion, which is women's involvement in the tourism sector. It is something that has been missed for a long time. Tourism has been conceived by men, it has been promoted by men. Almost all the tour operators are men, barring perhaps Janavi, who's enterprising enough to step into that world. Women have had very marginal roles to play in tourism. They're always in the background, cooking, preparing meals, and never get to interact with tourists. So tourists go back with a very, very limited experience of what life is really about in that area that they visit. And I think it's high time we reimagine tourism in this region, because there's a danger that we are going to get overexposed. Some of our destinations are already overexposed, like the double-decker Living Root Bridge, which people stomp on, because the Living Root Bridge, as I've always said, is a living thing. You can't go there with your boots and your shoes and pretend that it's a cemented bridge of some kind. So if we do not think carefully, tourism in this region is not going to be sustainable for long. And let's remember that women are the carers and nurturers, not just of their families, but also of their environment, because they survive on nature and nature's products. This is something we forget, because if I come back to a state like Meghalaya, where there is relentless coal mining, limestone mining, and now even boulders are being sent to Bangladesh, sand is being mined, so our rivers are getting destroyed. How sustainable is that going to be? We've got to make a choice between tourism or mining. We can't have both. And so I think for now, I stop here.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry we digressed, but Patricia has really spoken from what I also feel is the core of this meeting. First, I'd like to congratulate CII as the first Chamber of Commerce to actually look at tourism from the gender context, to say that tourism can be a vehicle for women's empowerment. I'd like to just tell you here that in 2020, when I had the opportunity to be the national president of FICCI, the women's wing of FICCI Flow, I was, each president has to come with a mission. And coming as I do from 3 decades of tourism in the Northeast, I spoke about sustainable livelihoods and sustainable practices, which must be the vehicle for women's economic upliftment. So that was the essence of it. And tourism for us in the Northeast is essentially women-driven at the end of the day, but women in the informal economy. That is the unmonetized, unrecognized core segment, which is really supporting this entire tourism ecosystem here. So I'm very grateful that as president, I could sign the MOU with the Ministry of Tourism. And for the first time, the ministry recognized that, okay, there are women out there, the unseen voices, and they gave us a great impetus. So I knew mine was just a one-year term in flow. But I signed with the Thai president, the Travel Agents Association of India, also a lady, also a flow member. So we did joint tie-up with ministry. And we've given a concept note on exactly how we were going to go about bringing up that unseen voice and the informal sector of women recognized into the formal sector. But as we went into COVID pandemic deeper and deeper in 2020-21, but the ideas are there with the ministry, we still want to take it forward. And now the good thing, that the tourism sector today actually has women's cells. We have the Thai, which started the WITT, Women in Travel and Trade. We have ATTOY, the Adventure Domestic Tourism Organization, also with a women's cell of its own. So yes, it's being recognized that women are a core part of this industry, and that is how we think we would like, when we carry on the conversation, that I would not talk about the opportunities, but I would take the opportunity to talk more about tourism from the gender lens. Next question, then later.
Thanks. I would like to revisit the sustainability issue in a bit, but I would also like to turn the topic back to a bit of positioning Northeast tourism. Is there a new way we can position? Do we even need a new way of positioning Northeast tourism in the customer's mind? Anybody? Mr. Tayang?
Hello. Yeah, first of all, this is really refreshing to have a women-specific event. It's too much of men already in this kind of. But like Kong said, to say that tourism is headed by men is really not true. I mean, Janavi Fukon is one of the examples. My friend Elena here, they're the main person behind some of the top, tourism outfits. And more when I talk to my friends in the travel fraternity, the main person in the company seems to be the better half staying at home, doing everything. We just turn up in conferences and pretend like we're the main guy, So we are empowered already, I think, when it comes to women. Yeah, and then talking about sustainability, what Kong has said, I mean, Meghalaya is one good example of what could go wrong in tourism, the over-tourism and trivializing everything. I mean, even as recent as 2005, when I used to go to this Lightroom Canyon, invariably you go in the morning, you go in the evening, there is nobody there. You're just by yourself, and the experience is like, incomparable. But now, there's no another place to stand. You see people haggling over a cup of chai and lots of liters everywhere. So, and these things are, you really cannot correct it. I mean, that's almost impossible. So, so we really should watch that this doesn't go pan-Northeast. Unless we have a vision in place, how are we going to streamline and put all the good practices in place, not just in terms of policies and in conferences, but really doing it, then, this could be just another cheap tourist spots, like anywhere in the world. So we really have to have a vision, have a clear policy or how exactly we want to brand ourselves. Do we want to make it, like with due respect, Goa, Manali kind of place, or, a very high-end niche where people will go and have a real, authentic, remarkable, and a memorable experience. So, we can keep on discussing, but lots to do, actually. Yeah.
Okay. So sustainability is the new narrative where, in tourism now. So people who make a purchase like it if their purchase makes a difference to the communities around them and to the environment. So is there any way where we can use sustainability as a differentiator in Northeast tourism? A way where people can choose us because we are into sustainable tourism. Ms. Satpati, would you like to talk?
First of all, I would like to thank CII and Indian Women Network for getting into such a topic I mean, really, it's a men's world. And few of us, like Janavi ma'am, me, and Patricia ma'am, maybe like penetrated to the men's world, and we have succeeded in our own way. But I think when we talk about sustainability and Northeast, it could be a best example for others when sustainability in tourism comes into a picture. Because we should be thankful that what happened to Ladakh after 3 Idiots, it didn't happen to Arunachal after Koila. So we have to maintain that status quo, that we have to streamline the arrivals. We have to maintain the quality, not quantity of tourism. As Patricia ma'am also, I think recently she has written so many articles regarding this tourism, how it has been creating a negative impact on the local people and local areas. So it's our duty. Let's not always put the onus on the government or the policy makers. It's my duty as a tour operator, as a local person, to see that whoever is coming through me to see this place is actually abiding by the rules and regulations in place. And it's my duty to have an orientation or kind of have a guideline, do's and don'ts for my own tourist. And let's keep it, let's not have a mass tourism just because after pandemic, I know everybody is having a good, enough queries to Northeast. And as I always say, almost nothing or very less has been written about Northeast. In a way, everywhere you go, people are, after 75 years of independence as well, people are asking, is it safe for girls? It's safe for a solo traveler? So those kinds of queries are still there. So let us create a positive image of Northeast as a whole. And as everybody said that Northeast, like even Arunachal, Assam or Manipur, we cannot really sell a particular state in isolation. Everybody who is coming to Northeast is coming in mind, they make a combination of states. So we have to be coordinated amongst ourselves, local state associations or local stakeholders should be coordinated, and to face such, counter such negative impact, let's make it our duty to stay positive and make our Northeast more impactful and sustainable.
So how easy is it for somebody who runs a lodge or an accommodation or even delivers an experience to become sustainable? I mean, is it easy or is it difficult? Mr. Jalan, you run several tea tourism things, experiences in Upper Assam. How easy is it to, take the community along with you and become sustainable?
Thank you, and I must first of all thank CII, Indian Women's Network, for Assam chapter for inviting me. I was hesitant when the invitation came. I was hesitant for 2 reasons. First was it is extremely difficult from Dibrugarh to come to Guwahati. We have 3 flights to Delhi every day, but 3 flights a week to Guwahati. So it's not easy to come to Guwahati very easily. And secondly, I was wondering whether I have anything brilliant or inspiring to share with the audience, having been to a couple of these earlier. So anyway, now that I'm here, I'll respond to your first issue first about positioning. Now, positioning, well, I'm not a marketing man, not a branding expert, but as a layman, positioning means, to me, is about perceptions. How do you, when you talk about Northeast tourism, what is the perception that you create? She spoke about people are asking, is it safe, etc. So, that's very important. And open market economies are free competition. In big markets, you get lost. So you have to kind of have a niche. Where will you position yourself? So what's the perception of Northeast that you create? If you look at the All India tourism profile, I mean, this data I'll share with you is not updated, but good 50% is North India, 30% is Western India, about 15, 16 is Southern India, and then about 4, 5, 6% is Eastern India, which includes West Bengal, Orissa, etc. So, we are low in the overall profile, which also means that there's a huge potential for people to come this side. So I really think that positioning is very, very important in our effort. Now, all of this cannot be done by small-time business tour operators like us, or see, that is where the strategy of destination promotion has to come. That is where Madam Deori, who's here, they can play a role as to how do you market the destination, how do you promote the destination, what kind of perceptions come to your mind when you think of a state like Singapore or a country like, state like Kerala or a country like Singapore. So it's very, that is, I think, very, very important. Now look at Bhutan. It is a country in South Asia. It is not in Europe. It is in South Asia. What kind of a perception or a visibility or positioning it has created for itself? You look at Myanmar. Now Myanmar, before this turmoil and before COVID, etc., had an inbound tourism arrival of 1 million people a year. 1 million people. Northeast at that time had 56,000. So, and Dibrugarh to Myanmar is 3.5 hours. Very similar cultural landscape, very, very similar demographic landscape. Look what they have done. So, this is the point. I certainly don't have the solution, but these are the things, these are issues that I would like to raise. I think this is where we need to look at as to what are the few things we need to do to take Northeast tourism to that level, to have a sustainable and yet a developed tourism scenario. Now, as far as your immediate question about running the lodge, etc., is concerned on sustainability, you see, first of all, I would like to add to what Oken said. I am only a kind of a person who attends conferences and stuff like that. The real work is done by my wife. So, however, having made that clarification, I would like to say that, as far as we are concerned, when we started tourism and our understanding of tea tourism is a niche boutique kind of a project. Very few rooms. You are not building brick and mortar infrastructure. You are only restoring what you have. So it's very, very high on sustainability, very, very low on, adding to your carbon footprint, etc., etc. So I think tea tourism, the way it has been conceptualized, or way I think it should be conceptualized or it should be carried forward, is all about, it's not about brick and mortar and having a 35-room inventory and stuff like that. It's about boutique tourism. I think it is very sustainable. It generates local employment. Very little things come from outside. So I think it's actually a very good model for sustainable tourism. Thank you.
Welcome. We have a lot of new circuits being opened, a lot of new experiences offered to tourists, a lot of new accommodation that has come up, whether it's a lodge or it's a homestay. With all these new operators in the market, how do we ensure that there is a uniform service quality that is delivered, that our safety standards in adventure tourism, our hospitality standards in people who are in the accommodation part of the business are adopting best industry practices or best industry safety standards? Because all of you are part of big tour operator associations. How do you handle this issue of training people or inculcating in them the best industry practices so that they can deliver the best customer experience? Anybody can talk. Anybody can pick up.
Like as you said about these homestays and like infrastructure and everything, I think there are certain guidelines by the Ministry of Tourism. You have to register and you have to fulfill all the conditions to register and become a part of MOT, recognized homestay or hotel, or as we are also like recognized by Ministry of Tourism. And about training and all, I think this is lacking in Northeast. If you go by statistics, there are only 30 odd licensed tour guides by, I don't know, recently they must have increased, So I think the institutes like Indian Institute of Travel and Tourism Management, who are in association with the Ministry of Tourism and Government of India, they are doing some training, local guide training programs all over. I think I know they're doing in Bhubaneswar also and other Gwalior and all. I think they should have something for Northeast as well. I mean, that has to be state specific. I mean, because in Northeast also, when you talk about different states, every state has their unique, it has a different USP. So it has to be catered to by local guides, training programs has to be conducted, taking in, in association with local stakeholders, local tour operator associations. So I think that is the need of the hour for Northeast. We are lacking in that. Language guides, we don't have much. So when we have Japanese tourists, we don't have much Japanese speaking language guides. So those things has to be looked into, and this is the need of the hour, right?
Can I broaden the question a bit?
Yes, please, please.
So we're talking about jobs, and we're talking about women, and we're talking about tourism. So just to throw some figures, in the financial year 2020, we understand that 39 million jobs were created in the tourism sector in India, which is nearly 88% of our total economy. And this number is in fact poised to rise by 2%. So we will have some 52.3 million jobs by 2028 in India. And the tourism sector itself is expected to grow at 6.7%. And it will account for, it was nearly 10%, now it says up post-COVID, it'll again account for about 9.2% of the economy by 2029. That is to India's advantage. But my question again is, what is going to happen to the women? What about the women's share in it? So now look at this. All the women's work take place in the informal sector, like I've said, in tourism, when we're talking about the handicrafts, the food production. It's women who are the contributing family members. And all these family tourism enterprises, the women who is the backbone. But they do not feature in the official statistics of the tourism department or the labor department of the tourism trade. Women's participation has been relegated to low-paying, seasonal work at the lowest level of employment. So this remains invisible, untapped, or underpaid. And where the homestays are concerned, we find women are there in every tourism destination. It's the women running the homestays. But because of the domestic and the caring nature of this work in the homestays, and women rarely have control, the financial control of the business, though they're running that business behind the scenes. And though the homestays are registered under the Ministry of Tourism, this woman's labor is again not recognized. So there's a huge segment which is not even recognized.
Correct.
So who are we addressing? So, and the good news is that now, for the first time, I think post-pandemic, the government has woken up and seen that women are finally going to get this recognition and monetization. Yes.
Yeah, so to get back to the issue, I was talking about how to ensure that, there is the best practices of the industry is followed by stakeholders in tourism as an associations members yourself. How do you ensure that, people inculcate all the, good practices of the business in terms of safety and service delivery?
So the first is to recognize by the government and by the tourism trade that women's participation has to be tabulated. So only with that recognition is there can that component even be taken into account. So when we talk about women's homestays and sustainable tourism, we want to say here that we have what is called the Gender Responsible Tourism Report. So now there is such a thing as the Gender Responsible Tourism Report, and there they have taken down some points which they wish the world will apply. And this is a worldwide phenomenon with particular reference to India, that if these factors, these 6 action points are taken into account, women's participation should be factored in. And then what we will truly have that inclusive workspace for women in tourism.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to add to the issue? Ms. Mukim, anybody?
I'm sorry I didn't do homework, due diligence on facts and figures because I do not believe in mass tourism. Sorry, Manoj. You're looking at numbers. I don't think that we should be looking at numbers because mass tourism is what's killing tourism in this region, as Oken said. That Grand Canyon of Meghalaya, Light Loam, today you can see people bringing in their gas cylinders and their cooking pots and pans and their boom boxes, and they're destroying the entire environment. So the question is, actually, I would like to go back after this conference with a few takeaways. We'd like to see what outcomes are going to be needed for us to sustain our level of tourism. Because there is such a thing as creating awareness and training our local resource people who are manning tourism destinations. But what about training the tourists? Who's training the tourists? You know, they come with all kinds of expectations. Some of them come to the wilds, but they want to replicate a discotheque from the city. Some people go and stay at very distant destinations, but they want to bring that whole paraphernalia of the city to that destination. These are things that we cannot, it's bad for the locals. We talk of select destinations. You go to the cleanest village, and it's a complete intrusion into the homes and the silence and the sleeping time of the kids in that place. It's awful, actually. And if we do not reimagine, if we are not creative enough, because tourism demands a lot of creativity. It's a multi-sensorial kind of experience. It's not just the eyes. It's your whole psyche that has to be involved in tourism. And yet, you find people just coming, seeing, taking photographs, going away. What memories are they taking back? Are they experiencing the local cuisine? And I must tell you that many of us are very diffident about asking people to try and taste our food. So we are not selling much of our own. We are selling Uncle Chips and all those packaged bottles, fruit juices, etc., which are then discarded as garbage. In fact, one of the greatest threats to tourism in our region is the garbage. We don't have a garbage management system in place. I'm very sorry to say that. And we are not even thinking about it. We are thinking high level. We are thinking high-end tourism. Meghalaya is thinking of starting a casino. I mean, these are good, but you've got to start from scratch somewhere. And you've got to get those local people there. Don't treat them as ignoramuses. They know a lot. I think their knowledge has to be integrated with the tourism policy that we are thinking about. And this whole idea of selling a destination without envisaging the outcomes is very dangerous. I think we've got to look at it, from top to bottom, end to end. Let me confess that I'm a very avid tourist of this region. I go to different places, observe and see what's wrong, and try to come back and see if we can push our state to do something different. But very often we fail. Very sorry, because the state doesn't think that anyone not involved in tourism has any idea about tourism. Maybe people from the government need to rethink also who they talk to.
Any other opinions? Anybody else wants to start?
Allow me to speak a little away from this topic. I am into it, like, as I said, fine-tuning our itineraries. That is very important. And in that way, we can probably, whether we say use the word educate the tourist or, we give them some informations about it. Like, I'll speak about my state, Assam. আমি লৈ যাওঁ শুৱালকুছিলৈ লৈ যাওঁ, but before reaching Hualkusi, there's a place called Dodora, where Purnima Devi Burman, who has been working for conservation of greater adjutant stock for so many years. Now the thing is that how many of us are putting in the itinerary? Now she has formed in a greater adjutant in Assam is called Hargila. That is, she has formed an Hargila army of 300 women. Okay, their job is to educate people and to conserve a greater adjutant stock, and at the same time doing the sustainable work by they are making the motifs of greater adjutant stock in their gamusas, in their bags, and then they are selling it off. So how many of are putting, there are several stories are there. It could be in Assam, it could be Arunachal or somewhere. But we are following the same pattern, same itinerary over and over again. Like the Delhi, Jaipur, the green triangle, we have the green triangle, Kaziranga, Shillong, Guwahati. And then again, during the COVID time, when I did some little bit of research, if I may use, while writing my stories, I have come across a beautiful story. Now, while you're traveling between, say, Kaziranga to Jorhat, for example, there's a road, a lady contractor who made it in 1939, Mohini Rajkumari. She was the first actress in Joymoti. She didn't act as in Joymoti, but her niece acted it, but she was one of the actresses in there. And she was the first lady contractor, and believe me, it's off the road of National Highway 37. Take that road to that village, 5 kilometers is a complete straight road, not a single bend. The lady made it. So these are the things we have to highlight in our itineraries while we are traveling from one distance to another, and then change it's not that only Kaziranga. Why Kaziranga? We have to go beyond Kaziranga. Kaziranga, only when we go to Kaziranga, it's not only rhinos, there are other mammals, there are birds. Similarly, how many of us have in our itinerary, just 40 kilometers away is the Dev Parbat, the 12th century archaeological temple. We have not showcased that. So it is our fault as a tour operator or the stakeholder. Similar kind can be done in other places, as I said. So this is where I believe, have to look into it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think women can be much more involved in those sort of soft tourism work.
Incredible Northeast India Tourism, a vehicle for women empowerment, powered by Transport Department, Government of Assam, co-powered by Ensure, Complete Balanced Nutrition for Adult, co-powered by Dr. Ortho Ayurvedic Tel Aru Capsule, Gachir Bikhor Babe Ononyo Oushod, education partner, the Downtown School, in association with Awesome Assam, print partner, the Assam Tribune.